Later today, Prime Minister, I'll have the privilege of hosting the ceremony at the Arboretum, and obviously you'll be in attendance with Prince Charles. Why is it so important to you?
This is massively important to me and I think to the country, because we need to remember that our police officers, men and women, are people who run towards danger, who put their lives at risk to keep us safe. And that point cannot be repeated often enough. You know that obviously at the Peel Centre in Hendon, the Met have a memorial. There's another memorial in London, but so far there's been no proper national memorial for police officers at the National Arboretum in the way that there are commemorations for so many other services, particularly the armed services. And I think it's the right thing to do. And so that's why I'm there tomorrow.
And it's been planned for years, but it's happening on your watch. How important is that? What does that mean to you?
The police matter hugely to me, but also to our society. I think that they are indispensable as part of a society that can be fair and just and equal. Fighting crime, is something that is, for me, basic, number one job, hygiene of government. We've got to make sure that our streets are safe and getting safer. And that depends on having supporting our police, loving them, showing that we're looking after them.
Yesterday you launched your Beating Crime plan, where you laid out some of your ideas, obviously with the Home Secretary. I have to put it to you, that was just days after the Police Federation of England and Wales had a vote of no confidence in your Home Secretary. Is she the woman to carry out the job?
Yes, I've got absolutely every confidence in the Home Secretary. But
why
I
don't
understand,
police officers, Prime Minister?
Look, Nick, I understand why people in public services across the country right now want to pay to go up, and everybody feels that, everybody gets that. I think the difficulty that we've been going through is a massive financial expenditure caused by the pandemic, looking after jobs and families for 18 months now, £407 billion and rising that we've spent on that. And it's not possible to meet every obligation at once. What we are doing is putting a huge amount into policing, 15.8 billion into supporting the police, making sure that we protect police officers from those who would commit crimes of violence against them, those who would attack them, those who would abuse them, putting in new protections for police officers. But also, I know I can sense you're trying to interrupt me before I make my final point.
I want to hear your final point.
The final key point,
yes, indeed,
is that I think that one of the best things we can do to support the police is to recruit more of them. And I'm a strong believer in numbers. I'm a strong believer in officers feeling that they're not alone. So we're halfway towards our 20,000 target that I said on the steps of Downing Street just 2 years ago.
If you like numbers, you'll know that any police officer who's earning above 24,000 per annum gets no pay rise. Anything below that gets £250 per year. That's about 60-something pence a day. It's the cost of a Mars bar. I know we want a thin blue line, but this is ridiculous if they can only just about afford a Mars bar, isn't it?
Well, the objective is to thicken the blue line with more officers, and that's what we're doing. And I take your points very sincerely about pay, Nick, and no one would want to pay our fantastic police more than I would. We're just going through a tough time financially for the government, and I think most people do understand that. I just ask people to recognise that, but also that the government is doing what it can to expand police numbers as fast as we can, also to give them things that they need, more body-worn cameras, greater ability to use tasers, more powers, for instance, over stop and search, and as I say, protections against unreasonable behaviour by members of the public, assaults that all too often they face.
Taking you back to your speech, and you reminded everyone yesterday, my government has remained unstinting in its effort to protect the British public. You'll be aware that more than 2 million people have been victims of antisocial crime over the last, that's the highest number in 7 years. And in London, 22 teenagers have died already this year. That's taking us back to some of the worst figures. Just before, by the way, you became mayor of London. Can you bring something that you were as mayor?
There's a couple of things in that. So first of all, on antisocial behaviour, some crime types are going in the right direction across the whole country. I mean, London's a particular case. But homicide is down by about 16%.
Well, people have been indoors a lot, haven't they?
Correct. I'm going to come to that. And serious violence is down by about 11%. Neighbourhood crime overall down by about a third. But we've got to make sure that we continue to push down on those crime types, because you say people are going to start. We're unlocking the vaccine rollout has been working. It's clear that we can go forward. You would expect criminals, like everybody else, to start coming out. That's why we've got to back the police even more, particularly against antisocial behaviour and so-called minor crimes. Now, there's a couple of things we're doing. Number one, we're giving everybody the name of an officer that they can ring in their neighbourhood who will deal with their crime. Number two, what I want to see is those who are guilty of antisocial behaviour actually paying their debt to society. If that means that they are visibly part of some yellow fluorescent jacketed chain gang, then I'm not going to weep any hot tears about that. I think that's a good thing. If people should be doing unpaid work as part of their of the debt that they're settling with society, and I think that is very important. But what we've also got to do is drive down those serious crime types, assault, robbery, knife crime. You mentioned knife crime in London. Let's look at the real drivers of those crimes and what's happening. And what you've got, as you know, the vast bulk of acquisitive crime is being driven by drugs and by the county lines, drugs gangs and other gangs. So we've got a twin track strategy, and you remember from London why you've always got to have the twin track strategy. You've always got to do both things at once. So we're being tough on knife crime. We're making sure that we give police powers to stop and search. We're increasing the sentences for serious.
You're a fan of stop and search. Was Theresa May wrong in toning it down?
Hang on, I'll come to that in a second. But just on.
I'll keep a mental note.
I know, no. You're right to ask that. But what I also want to do is tackle the underlying causes. And a sensible government looks at what's really going on. You've got 300,000 problem drugs users who are, I'm afraid, the part of this county lines phenomenon. You need to be dealing with their problem, and so you need to be putting money into rehab, into their mental health, into helping them away from the disaster that they're making of their lives. So you've got to come down like thunder.
So
come down like a ton of bricks.
Doing this, is she?
Hang on, wait.
Well, Dame Cressida Dick is not doing it.
Wait.
I'm having to wait for a lot of things.
I know. I'll come to both Theresa May.
So much.
I know, but no, it's not. Your mind is very capacious, Nick. It's very capacious. And what I'm trying to get is a twin track strategy.
Okay.
Come down tough on the county lines drug gangs, wrap them up, roll them up. We've done 1,000 already, but also look after the victims, the chronic drugs users, the tragic characters who get involved. And by the way, think also about ways of wrapping up the whole drugs network.
And is Dame Cressida Dick the woman to push this through?
I think that I've had, as you know, and you'll have known Cress for a very long time. I think she's a formidable police officer, and I think that
is she the woman to deliver on this?
All that is a matter for the Mayor of London and the Home Secretary, and it's.
Is the Mayor of London the man to bring this through?
Look, I'm not going to get. This is not the occasion for me to give.
Well, I just think
the Mayor of London one of my ritual kickings.
I think of the close.
Since you invite me to do so,
put your football boots on.
Since you invite me to do so, I think that I think there is more that could be done to fight knife crime on the streets of London, and I would urge the Mayor to do it. I think we're going to talk about it together quite soon, I hope. The issue for me is it's about taking responsibility. If you remember in 2008, when we came in, when I came into the London mayoralty, it was a pretty grim scene.
It was,
and there was nobody taking responsibility personally for what.
But
was
you
happening.
and the commissioners were in lockstep.
We were.
I have to put it to you, I don't know that the current mayor and the commissioner are. Prime Minister?
I can't comment on that, Nick. And I've got far too much respect for you as an interviewer to try and bluff you there. I don't know.
Just before we come to the last couple.
But what I do want to say is I think that I want to work with the London mayoralty to try to fix this problem, because it can be fixed, and you need the twin track strategy. You need to be tough on the gangs, tough on the kids carrying knives, and I do think stop and search is part of that. But you also need to be tough on the reasons why they're out there.
What about tough on drunks breaking into Wembley at the Euros final? Were you disappointed to see that?
I was disappointed by that. I think that the UK has a fantastic case to the world to host great football championships. We're the best place on earth to do it. Was it an advert for that, do you think?
I think we looked. I
think we looked great in many ways, but this was unquestionably letting the side down. And
don't the police have questions to answer about that, Prime Minister?
I know that there's a full review and inquiry going into what went wrong. I think what I might say perhaps in way of mitigation was this was the first time they'd had to mount something like that under lockdown conditions where you had to have, or under COVID conditions where you had to have quite long queues for people to observe social distancing, get testing and so on. But I don't want to make any excuses for it. We need to get to the bottom of what happened, and we must make sure nothing like happens again.
I've known you for a number of years. You've referenced the time that we spent together when you were mayor, and I've known you as a buccaneering journalist, an opinionated journalist. You must have concerns that journalists could face prison terms of up to 14 years under plans to reform the Official Secrets Act. Prime Minister.
This is I know, but this is not what we want to do at all. And Well,
it's by your colleague Priti Patel. The consultation has begun.
And this is a consultation. And let me
so
make
we don't need
absolutely
to worry about it.
Yes, we don't. I don't want to have a world in which people are prosecuted for doing what they think is their public duty, and
in the public interest.
And in the public interest, because I think. You know as well as I do as a journalist.
Not of your level.
No.
You even wrote in the Sunday Express this. That was my one. Why are you stealing that as well?
I wouldn't dream it. But you know as well as I do that a lot of the best and most important stories, whether they're Watergate or thalidomide or whatever, come from tainted sources. Let me put it like that. Or come from a source that has no business in putting that out into the public domain. And
doesn't the public interest outweigh just about anything?
Yes. And so my argument is that that's the important thing to focus on. And put another way, one man's treacherous betrayer of confidences and irresponsible leaker is another man's whistleblower.
Right.
And so,
how does that affect the Official Secrets Act?
And so what we want to do is make sure that we don't do anything to interrupt the operation of good journalism and bringing new and important facts
why the review?
Into the public domain.
Why is the review necessary then, Prime Minister?
We're conducting a general review of the Official Secrets Act, but we certainly do not wish to see the anything to interrupt.
Well, why don't you just rip it up now?
Because the consultation has begun. But what you are doing, Nick, if I may say so, in your characteristic way, is offering your own view.
But you're a journalist to boots as well. You've been an editor. You don't want to see journalists muzzle blasted, do you?
No, and I think I think actually, editors and journalists on the whole do behave with great responsibility when it comes to stuff that they think should not be put into the public domain because of the damage it could do to national security or to public health or for any other reason. You know the D-notice system that we have,
which is respected,
and used. So I'm full of admiration for the way journalists generally conduct themselves. And so, whatever this thing is, I do not for 1 minute believe it is going to do anything to interrupt the normal process by which
the robust British press Yes. Red in tooth and claw.
The searchlight
right.
by the British press will continue to shine on every crevice of
There's a thought.
British government.
I think we saw some crevices with one of your colleagues, but we'll move on from that. You mentioned the lockdown. Professor Ferguson has said today, soon we can look back on lockdown in October. Do you share that level of enthusiasm? Are you still pressing the note of caution as regards that?
Well, I've got a high regard for Professor Ferguson, who's a very distinguished...
Yes, there are caveats in now. He's not saying open all the doors.
No, he's not. He's a very distinguished modeller, I think
some would say his numbers were a bit high. It was going to be 100,000.
But
it was 30.
These are things that are very difficult to compute. We've seen some encouraging recent data. There's no question about that. But it is far, far too early to draw any general conclusions. And what we did.
You don't share that note of enthusiasm. Well, look back at lockdown in October.
I think it's
the ketchup.
I think
the ketchup can
the
be poured.
most important thing.
Not one of your better ones. But go on.
No, possibly one of my worst. But the most important thing is for people to recognise that the current situation still calls for a lot of caution, and for people just to remember that the virus is still out there, that a lot of people have got it. It still presents a significant risk.
We've got to get 18 to 29-year-olds getting this virus, Prime Minister. What are you going to do about that?
Well,
they're listening to you now.
Well, I'm going to say how, first of all, actually, the number of 18 to 29-year-olds in this country who've already got vaccinated is quite stupendous. I mean, they are doing it amazing. They're coming forward, and so it's getting on towards 70% now. It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
It is.
So all I would say was keep going.
But it's great. If someone refuses a vaccine, are they being selfish?
No, I think that I would put it the other way around and say if you get one, you're doing something massively positive for yourself, for your family. But
if you don't get one, should you possibly be barred from going to a nightclub?
I think it's a very positive thing to do to get a vaccine.
But should you be barred to going from a nightclub or a sports stadium, or whatever it might be, or even studies? If you're between 18 and 29 and you don't have a vaccine, Prime Minister?
I think it's a very positive thing to do to go and get a vaccine. And as I said the other day in one of those press conferences, I think people can obviously see when you look at things like travel, like mass events, that it's going to be one of those things that will help you, not hinder you.
A couple of last things. Sir Keir Starmer says your focus on the yacht, £283 million, is pointless. You have become the party of crime and disorder. Would that be a waste of money, £283 million on the so-called yacht?
I think that what you want to do is compare two approaches. And when you look at Labour, you see a party that voted consistently on a 3-line whip against tougher sentences for serious sexual and violent offenders. A party, the Labour Party, the Labour opposition, that has consistently taken the side of I'm afraid, left-wing criminal justice lawyers against, I believe, the interests of the public of driving crime down. And on the national flagship, as I prefer to call it, it is a project that will not only help to revive the shipbuilding industry in this country, drive immediate jobs and growth for young people, immediate job opportunities for young people in a sector in which this country used to lead the world. But when you consider the opportunity for the UK as we compete now for inward investment in the UK, we need a forum, a place where the best of British business and industry can come together to showcase what we have to offer. And you know what I mean by MIPIM,
yes.
the World Trade Fairs,
yeah.
the expos. We need somewhere where the UK can show itself off to the world and attract investment. And that will drive jobs and growth in the UK, not just in shipbuilding, but across every sector of the
jobs
the UK
are coming
economy.
Back, aren't they?
Jobs are coming back, and you'll have seen the data from the IMF today. It's clear that if we're sensible and we continue to take a cautious approach, that we can see a very, very strong
You're still being cautious about this lockdown, though.
I want to be. I do, because.
But August the 16th is nailed on, Prime Minister.
August the 16th is nailed on. There's never been any question of a review date for August the 16th, we'll go ahead with the move from.
So what is it that worries you? Cases? Deaths?
I think
A new, as yet undetected strain?
I think what it is just a. I'm very pleased that the roadmap that we worked on for so long has the British public, everybody worked on together, has delivered. We have been able to get to the fourth stage of that roadmap. We have opened up in the way that we said we would. I'm very pleased that this is a country that now has the highest proportion of vaccinated adults of any country in the world. The highest proportion of vaccinated adults of any country in the world. That is enabling us to make the economic progress that we are. And so you're seeing the job numbers increasing. And I think that the rest of this year, I hope, there will still be bumps on the road. There will still be bumps on the road. But I think you'll see a story of steady economic recovery and perhaps quite fast economic recovery as well.
Last question. How did you react when it was alleged by your former close aide, Dominic Cummings, that your wife, quotes, pulls the strings?
I don't wish to comment on any of the sayings of any of my former advisors, who are now many.
And the number could always grow.
No, the number there are many, as you know, number 10 Downing Street. I looked at the other day. Just in the last year, I think we've had about 220 people arrive in number 10. I don't know how many have left. Quite a few. And I'm sure they've all got something interesting to say, but I have no intention of commenting on it. And to go back to your your earlier point about transparency and candor, I'm all in favour of people having their views.